We have two other pieces of business to do. We have a resolution that we will read at the end, but right now I'm inviting Brother Faheem to share something with you.
Al-Quds resist! Iraq resist! Afghanistan resist! Pakistan resist! Lebanon resist! Iran resist! America resist!
Okay, resist.
Free Palestine!
Assalamu alaikum. So you all just said resist. Americans resist. The majority of us here are U.S. citizens. Maybe some of us aren't. But the point is, Americans resist. How? How can we resist Israeli apartheid? Because that's why we're here today. The Israeli government, the system, is an apartheid system. It is a racist system. It is a system that discriminates. It is not a democracy. It is an apartheid system. So that's why we're here today. If it was a regular, government, a Palestinian Christian or Muslim could live, work, and, exist on the same level that the Jewish residents could, we wouldn't be here today. We'd be at home or at work or doing something else. But we're here today because Israel is an apartheid system. So what can we do about that? Well, we have a successful model to follow. 20 years ago, less than 20 years ago, we had a South African system that was based upon apartheid. South Africa 20 years ago had different areas, different jobs, different places to live, different roads for white residents and for non-white residents. Palestine, people call it Israel, whatever you call it, this area of the world today is under the same system. It's an apartheid system. Now, this Israeli apartheid system is a little bit more sophisticated. They learned some things from the South African apartheid system, so they're not as blatant as out in the open, but they are an apartheid system. If you're a Palestinian, Christian, or Muslim, you don't have the same rights, whether it's to buy property, to buy a house, to get a job, to drive on a road. You don't have the same rights. So we're against this system. Now, the South African apartheid, it was dismantled peacefully. How was it dismantled peacefully? Well, there was a worldwide movement of people like us, people like you and I, everyday Joe Blow citizens across the world, and also including in the United States. People and organizations that were against apartheid, they took action. What action did they take? They participated in consumer boycotts. They participated in sanctions, encouraging sanctions. They participated in divestment movements. All of these things are what led to the successfully, peacefully dismantled apartheid system in South Africa. That's all that's required from you and I, is to take part in this. Of course, as Muslims or as believing Christians or Jews, we believe prayer is also important, but something that we can materially do is participate in a boycott. So today, as part of that effort, that worldwide effort, we today have some resources for you all. These resources are very simple, but it's very powerful. This resource is a magnet. This magnet connects us to people across the United States, people across the world in different cities who are participating actively in a consumer boycott of the Israeli apartheid system. Now, certain people in London, for instance, or in Europe, are boycotting certain companies that we found clear proof, clear evidence that these different companies are helping to support the Zionist apartheid system economically. So these companies, they've been researched, and the evidence is posted all over the internet. Obviously, you're not going to find that on MSNBC or on ABC, on Fox News, on any of these, NPR, none of these places. You're going to have to search out for it on the internet. You're going to have to search out in little newspapers and magazines. So what we're doing today, we're bringing some of that research to you. There are 3 American companies that are targeted. 3 American companies, major American companies, that are guilty of the crime of supporting Israeli apartheid. They're guilty. And on these magnets we have the evidence that's been researched. You can go to the website that's shown on the top of this magnet. But basically, it's Starbucks, it's McDonald's, it's Coca-Cola. These 3 companies, when you think of those 3 companies, you don't think of killing children in their homes. You don't think of bulldozing homes or, you know, Israeli-only roads and other people who live in the area can't use those roads. You don't think of that when you go to Starbucks, do you? You think, I'm going to get some coffee, it tastes good. Well, guess what? These companies and their CEOs are helping Israeli apartheid. We should be thinking of that when we go to these companies. We shouldn't even go there. But if we think about these companies, that's what we should think about. We should remember our brothers and sisters in Palestine and what they're going through and what companies that we support with our dollars every day are doing to help support that system, that evil system. So inshallah, I asked a couple people to come on up. If they can come grab some of these magnets, we're going to distribute them. You all take part in this boycott. This is a huge opportunity for you all. The research is done for you. You, your family, you put these things on your refrigerator. Each day, you're in your kitchen, you're looking for something in the fridge. Every day, inshallah, you'll be reminded of these companies and their crimes. Every time you're driving down the road and you drive by a McDonald's, rather than thinking, I want some fries, I want a milkshake, you're thinking these companies are supporting an apartheid system. So inshallah, you take these, and this will help us to remember day in and day out. Because today is just one day. We have 364 days in the rest of the year. For the rest of the days of the year, this will be a small little tool to help us to remember every day what's going on and how we are participating in that without thinking. So if we think, inshallah, we'll become thinking people. We'll be remembering what's going on, and we'll choose to spend our dollars every day, you know, dollars for a simple thing, a Coke, a McDonald's meal, Starbucks coffee. We'll remember our brothers and sisters, and we will boycott these companies. Now this is a worldwide movement. You might not have heard of it as much here, but in the Middle East, and especially in Europe, this is a much, much, much more publicized movement. So that's our job today. Take these home. When you see your family members, when you see your friends, your co-workers, your classmates, you explain this to them. There's a link at the top. So, you know, you can just refer them there. There's evidence, documented evidence that these companies are supporting apartheid economy. So inshallah, you take this home with you, and this becomes a part of our awareness and a part of our action for the rest of the year. Assalamu alaikum.
Silence no more! End this war! Silence no more!
End the war! Silence no more! End this war! Silence no more! End this war!
Silence no more!
End this war! First, before I read the resolutions, just 2 things I'd like to mention. One thing that's very important, and it's something very simple that we can do. You can find a way to support an oppressed Palestinian child, an orphan, a lady, an elderly person, someone sick. All of us know someone, and hopefully someone trustworthy, from Palestine who goes back and forth. And you can put $1, $10 in their hand and ask them to give that to a needy child when they travel there. Hopefully the Israelis won't take it at the airport or wherever they seize items. That's one thing. There are other organizations around, trustworthy, that you can support an orphan or someone in need in Palestine. We need to leave today with a determination to help them. It's not enough just to come, as meritorious as it is, to a Quds rally once a year. That's great. But we need to do something between now and next year. We have to have an action plan. The other thing we'd like to do, and it's being considered and will be discussed inshallah further in the future, that is to have at least a major conference in this area highlighting the plight of the oppressed Palestinian people, because we are not going to rely on government officials to relieve their pain and suffering. They will turn their backs on them as they have been for 62 years, and we have to do it ourselves. We cannot wait on Mr. Obama, the Congress, or any of them. They're not going to do anything. I'll read the resolutions to you. There are 4 of them. After each one, you can affirm it with Allahu Akbar. Resolution number 1. We support the Palestinians' God-given right to self-defense. This is one, if I read it all and at the end I'll say takbir and you repeat. This is one of the fundamental human rights, and yet the Palestinians are not afforded this right in the discourse about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Side issues are brought to the forefront of the discussion. Side issues like rocket attacks or so-called, quote, suicide bombings are brought up. The reality of the matter is the Palestinians are virtually defenseless, with no army, no navy, and no air force. Meanwhile, they are confronted and attacked by the most powerful and advanced military in the region. They have been expelled from their villages and cities for 62 years. They have been confined to Bantustans, in which they are subject to attack at any time from the Israeli military or from Israeli settlers who attack with impunity. So within this context, we say that we, all of us, support the Palestinians' God-given right to self-defense. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Resolution number 2. We support the Palestinians' right to choose their own government. It is absurd and an insult for any nation to tell another nation which leaders they should choose and how they should govern themselves. Yet our government, as well as subservient national media, has repeatedly made the outrageous demand of the Palestinian people that they should choose a political leadership from among a few who happen to be acceptable at that particular moment in time. American citizens and citizens from any other nation for that matter, if faced with these same brash demands from foreigners, would never tolerate such interference. Take, for example, our recent presidential elections. Imagine if the Chinese government and media began demanding that Americans elect Mitt Romney as president, followed by their warnings that if we didn't comply, they would cut off their dealings with us and sanction the country. If we Americans were faced with this demand, we would laugh at the absurdity of this demand, and probably attack China for its insolence. But this is what the Palestinians have to put up with from our government and corrupt media. This is why we say today and tomorrow and into the future, we support the Palestinian people's right to choose their own government. Takbir.